Picture this. You check your bank account at the end of the month, and for once, there's actually money left over. Not a lot, maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do I actually do with this? Part of your brain says, pay down that debt. Get rid of it. Stop owing people money. Another part says, no, put it in the market. Let it grow. Future you will thank you. Both voices sound completely reasonable. And that's exactly what makes this decision so hard. But here's what I can tell you right now. The difference between these two choices, made consistently over 20 or 30 years, can be the difference between retiring comfortably and working into your 70s. We're not talking small numbers. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially more. So today, we're going to settle this once and for all with actual math, real scenarios, and a simple framework you can use starting today. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the single most important idea in this entire conversation, because once you understand this, everything else clicks into place. When you pay off a debt, you are earning a guaranteed return equal to the interest rate on that debt. Let that land for a second. If you have a credit card charging you 20% interest and you pay it off completely, that is mathematically identical to earning a 20% return on your money. Except, unlike the stock market, there is zero risk involved. The market can crash, a recession can hit, but that 20% you just saved by eliminating that debt, locked in, done. Nobody can take it away. Now let's compare that to investing. Over long periods of time, we're talking decades, the stock market has historically returned around 10% per year on average. Some years you get 25%, some years you lose 30%, but the long-run average hovers around that 10% mark. So when you line those two numbers up, you get the clearest possible decision-making framework. If your debt is costing you more than 10% in interest, credit cards, personal loans, anything in that range, pay it off before you invest a single extra dollar. The math is completely one-sided. You cannot out-invest a 22% interest rate. Not consistently, not safely. If your debt is sitting below 5%, think mortgages, certain student loans, some car financing, the math actually favors investing. Because over time, the market is likely to earn you more than that low rate is costing you. And if you're somewhere in the middle, between 5% and 10%, that's where it gets more nuanced. And that's where your personal situation starts to matter. We'll come back to that. Now, let's get specific, because abstract advice only goes so far. I want to show you real numbers so you can see exactly what's at stake. Let's use a really common scenario. A $350,000 home loan at 4% interest, paid over 30 years. Your monthly payment is around $1,670. Pretty standard for a lot of homeowners. Now, let's say you have an extra $1,000 every month that you could either put toward the mortgage or put into the market. Two paths, two very different outcomes. Path 1, destroy the mortgage. Every month, you tack that extra $1,000 onto your mortgage payment. What happens? You pay off a 30-year loan in about 14 and a half years. That's cutting your debt timeline almost in half. Not only that, you save roughly $140,000 in interest that you never have to pay. That money just stays in your pocket. Here's where it gets really interesting. The moment that mortgage is gone, at the 14 and a half year mark, you now have your extra $1,000 and your old mortgage payment freed up. That's $2,670 per month going straight into investments for the remaining 15 and a half years of our 30-year window. Plug those numbers into a compound interest calculator at that 10% historical average, and after 30 years, you end up with roughly $1.1 million. That is a life-changing number, and most people would be thrilled with that outcome. But let's look at the other path. Path 2, invest from day one. You make the minimum mortgage payment every month, nothing extra. That full $1,000 goes into an investment account from the very first month and stays there, compounding for all 30 years. Now, yes, because you're only making the minimum on the mortgage, you end up paying the full interest cost over the life of the loan. That's about $250,000 in total interest paid to the bank. It stings a little. But here's what compound interest does when you give it 30 uninterrupted years to work. Your investment portfolio grows to approximately $2.2 million. Even after you subtract that $250,000 in mortgage interest, you're still sitting at around $1.9 million in total wealth. Now, compare that to Path 1's $1.1 million. The difference is $800,000. $800,000 from the same income, the same time period, the same monthly amount, just a different strategy. And the reason is simple. A 4% mortgage is cheap debt. The market, over the long run, does better with your money than paying off a 4% loan does. That's the entire game. Here's something that almost never gets mentioned in this conversation, and it's actually a huge deal. Inflation is secretly working in your favor when you have fixed-rate debt. Think about what you pay for groceries today versus 5 years ago. Or gas, or rent. Everything goes up over time. That's inflation doing its thing. But your mortgage payment, it doesn't move. If your mortgage is $1,670 today, it's still $1,670 in 20 years. The payment is frozen. Meanwhile, the dollars you're repaying that loan with are worth less and less every year. In 15 years, that same $1,670 will feel like a much smaller amount because everything else will have gotten more expensive around it. So you're effectively borrowing today's dollars, which are relatively valuable, and paying the loan back with tomorrow's dollars, which will be worth less. The bank can't do anything about it. It's completely legal. This is part of why financial experts talk about a 30-year mortgage as one of the best financial instruments available to regular people. It locks in a low, fixed cost, while your assets, stocks, real estate tend to grow alongside inflation over time. This doesn't mean you should load up on debt. It means that low-rate, fixed debt has a hidden advantage that most people never factor in when they're deciding how aggressively to pay it down. Okay, let's go through each type of debt you're likely to have and talk about where it falls. Credit cards. This is the easy one. Anywhere from 18% to 29% interest. There is no argument here. No investment strategy reliably beats that. Pay them off as fast as humanly possible. Don't even think about the market until these are gone. The best method? List your cards from highest interest rate to lowest. Throw every extra dollar at the top one while paying minimums on the rest. Once that's gone, move down the list. This is the debt avalanche, and it saves you the most money mathematically. Student loans. This is where it gets more nuanced. Federal student loans often sit in the 3 to 6% range, which puts them closer to the mortgage scenario. At those rates, a strong case exists for investing alongside your repayment, rather than going all in on payoff. However, unlike a mortgage, most student loans lose their interest deduction above certain income levels. And unlike a house, you can't sell your degree if things get tight. Factor those things in. Car loans. Rates typically land between 4 and 8% depending on your credit score and the deal you got. But here's the wrinkle with cars. They're losing value every single day. You're financing something that depreciates. So paying extra to aggressively own a shrinking asset faster doesn't always make sense. In many cases, investing that extra money is the smarter move. Medical debt and personal loans. These vary wildly, sometimes 0%, sometimes 15% plus. Go back to the core framework. If it's above 10%, attack it. If it's below 5%, invest alongside it. Before you decide on any of this, before you make a single extra payment or put a dollar in the market, two things have to be in place first. Number one, your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of living expenses, sitting in a regular savings account, not invested, not touched, just there. I know, watching money sit in a savings account, earning almost nothing while inflation niggles at it, feels painful. But here's the reality. Life does not care about your financial plan. Cars break down, jobs disappear, Medical bills show up without warning. If you don't have that cash cushion and something goes wrong, you've got two bad options. Either you pull money out of your investments, possibly during a downturn, locking in a loss, or you rack up more high-interest debt on top of the debt you were already trying to eliminate. Both of those outcomes are far worse than the minimal interest you're losing by keeping that money in cash. The emergency fund isn't an investment. It's insurance, and you need it before you do anything else. Number 2, your employer 401k match. If your employer offers a 401k match and you're not capturing the full match, you are leaving free money on the table every single paycheck. Full stop. A 50% match means for every dollar you put in, your employer drops in 50 cents automatically. That's a 50% return before the market does a single thing. A 100% match doubles your money instantly. No debt payoff strategy, no investment opportunity, nothing in personal finance comes close to that kind of guaranteed return. Contribute enough to get every dollar of that match before you pay extra debt or invest anywhere else. Emergency fund first. Full 401k match second. Then we talk about debt versus investing. Here's the honest truth that gets left out of most finance videos. The mathematically correct answer isn't always the right answer for you. Money is emotional, debt is emotional, and stress has real costs that don't show up in any calculator. Some people genuinely cannot sleep when they're carrying debt. It sits in the back of their mind constantly. It affects how they spend, how they work, how they show up in relationships. For those people, paying down even low-interest debt faster than the math requires is completely justified because mental clarity and reduced stress have actual value. Other people are totally unbothered by a 4% mortgage. They look at it like a business would, a cheap source of capital that they're using to fund better returning investments. For them, investing while carrying that debt is the right move. Neither of these people is wrong. They're just different, and they know themselves. What is wrong, the only truly wrong answer, is having no plan at all. Or changing your plan every few months based on what's happening in the market, or what some influencer said on social media, or how you happen to be feeling that week. Decide on your approach. Understand the reasoning behind it, and then stick with it through the noise. Consistency over time beats the perfect strategy that you can't maintain. All right, let's wrap this up with the framework you can actually use. Step 1, build your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. Do this before anything else. Step 2, contribute enough to your 401k to capture your full employer match. This is the highest guaranteed return available to you. Don't skip it. Step 3, look at your debts. Anything above 10% interest gets paid off aggressively before you invest extra money anywhere. No exceptions. Step 4, for lower interest debt, run a math. If your rate is below 5%, investing the extra money is likely the stronger long-term move. If you're between 5 and 10%, consider a hybrid. Split your extra money between extra debt payments and investing, especially if carrying the debt stresses you out. Step 5, whatever you decide, automate it and stop second-guessing it every month. Consistency is the whole game. That's it. That framework, applied for 20 or 30 years, is what separates people who build real financial security from people who are still trying to figure it out at 65. If this video helped you, please subscribe. New videos every single week. And leave a comment below. Are you team pay off debt or team invest first? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.